So, I believe that I figured out how to fix the desyncing problems on my videos. And so to celebrate that, I wanted to do one or two more. I'm gonna do two. I'm actually not even sure if the desyncing is fixed on these. But that's not even what's important. What's important is that I'm so tired and so upset, but I'm gonna do it. This first one is the shorter of the two. The other one is actually quite lengthy, but I have to do it. This one is called Snail Fail by Joe Mike. It's about 4 years old. I only have a vague idea of what it's all about. It's 12:30 in the morning. I've lost all control of my life. "64 snails and counting. That was what Simba had eaten. He only had to down one more snail to win the eating contest against Timon. Again. He and Timon have been having these eating contests since Simba was a teenager. Now that Simba was an adult, he could eat even more bugs and humiliate Timon even more as well. "I can't eat any more," moaned Timon, barely able to stomach another slippery green snail. "Too bad. I guess you lose then," Simba declared as he quickly slurped the rest of the snails on the tree trunk. "Got any more?" I'm really just kind of imagining Matthew Broderick saying all this, and I need to get that, thought out of the head. Timon was fed up with losing to Simba. Every time he thought he'd win, Simba would always turn the tables and win instead. It was at that moment that Timon decided to play a little trick on Simba. The meerkat hid behind the stump and slipped a few stink bugs into some of the leftover snails. "These little guys will make Simba regret winning yet again," thought Timon to himself. "Simba will be gassier than Pumbaa before you know it." "Here you go, old pal," said Timon, handing the snails to Simba. "A couple of fresh ones to celebrate your victory." "Glad to see you're still a good sport," said Simba before downing the bugged snails. "Hey, these have a nice flavor. And crunch." They must be ripe ones," said Timon, trying to cover up his actions. "I better get going now. I gotta see if Pumbaa's stuck in an anthill again." Timon ran off into the grass, leaving Simba with a confused look on his face. "I got him good," said Timon, hiding behind a distant tree, spying on Simba. "Now I just have to wait." Simba began to head off before a loud rumble came from his somewhat bloated belly. "I guess I shouldn't have had those extra snails." Timon stifled a chuckle as Simba didn't seem to suspect his prank. Simba grunted heavily. His bowels churned heavily, his large intestines started to whine, his haunches started shaking, and his tail lifted. "Here he comes," said Timon, grinning in anticipation. Simba's anus expanded as a loud, rippling lion fart erupted from his bowels. The fart slapped against his ass cheeks. Lions don't have ass cheeks. And made a loud flapping sound. "Oh," Simba groaned, trying to keep his butt cheeks clenched but unable to control his ass's needs. "I've never been like this before." Simba sat down in the dirt, hoping that the pressure on his anus would hold his farts in. However, it did not work, as a rocketing fart managed its way out and created a puff of dust around Simba's cheeks. It was as if his ass just made a nuclear explosion. Timon hid behind the tree and laughed out loud. It was so hilarious to him to see his friend farting up a storm. He could enjoy the sight all day. "Hey, Timon," said a familiar voice. "What you laughing at?" "Oh, hi, Pumbaa," said Timon, trying to be nonchalant. "I was just thinking about a new joke." "Well, I'd love to hear it, but I'm busy," said Pumbaa. "Have you eaten any stink bugs?" "No. Why?" "I heard you were having another snail-eating contest. Rafiki told me to warn you that stink bugs and snails make one heck of a laxative." Timon's jaw dropped as he realized what exactly he did to Simba's bowels. He had inadvertently given Simba a mighty laxative. Timon ran back to the tree stump immediately. Taking a whiff of Simba's strong flatulence, Timon waved a hand in front of his nose. "You okay, Simba?" Yeah, just a little gassy, said Simba before lifting his leg and cracking another ripe one off. Nothing you haven't seen before. Yeah, no worries, pal, Timon assured through a plugged nose. Pumbaa was indeed the gassiest animal in the savannah, but Simba was a much bigger animal who didn't usually fart that much. He never farted in front of anyone, even Timon and Pumbaa before. Now that Timon had gotten a whiff of the lion's foul backwind, Timon was starting to appreciate Pumbaa's wind. I've got a feeling I'm going to be farting for quite a while, said Simba with a grunt and another burst of flatus. Just then, a rushing feeling ran down Simba's... You gotta hang on, boy. A rushing feeling ran down Simba's bowels, and the lion realized that gas was not his only problem. Okay, so I know, the fart stories, they're pretty funny and everything, and that's cool. It's all fun and games. I never really specified that I would be getting into scat territory. Simba crossed his legs, clenched his buttocks, and groaned as another feeling was about to reach his rectum. Timon started sweating, thinking Simba was going to start yelling in pain or something. Looks like I've got some business to take care of, said Simba jokingly with a smirk. Timon was relieved that Simba's need to dump wasn't painful. He felt as if he could just walk away and put the incident behind him. Simba started to walk into the grass and relieve himself when he heard a voice. Simba, honey, said a voice coming out of the grass. It was Nala. Simba started sweating profusely and sat down on the stump, trying his hardest not to fart in front of his mate. The flat surface did a much better job than the dirt, but he was still having trouble holding it. Did you win your contest? Asked Nala. Yeah, I won again, said Simba, sweating deeply under his auburn mane. He never farted in front of his mate, much less shit himself in front of her. Simba bit his bottom lip. A lot of humiliation was on the line. You look a little tense, said Nala, noticing Simba's face contort a little. Just a little stomachache from the snails, said Simba. It should pass in a while. Simba's anus would have released the shit then if his butt wasn't practically melded into the tree stump. Simba shifted his rump a bit in an uncomforting fashion. His butt cheeks were pretty much bolted together and his anus was tighter than ever. Did you have fun too, Timon? Asked Nala. Timon smiled awkwardly. He was still feeling a bit guilty of giving Simba laxatives. Moreover, he was concerned with the lion being rocketed off the stump with a sudden burst of excrement. I was close, said Timon, pretending to laugh, but it was one heck of a slobber knocker. Dung kept piling up in Simba's rectum, and it was getting harder and harder to keep it held in. Simba's heart skipped a beat as he felt a sudden hot and wet sensation on his anus. A drop of diarrhea had escaped and was dribbling down the back of the stump. It glided down the silky crack of his ass and dripped onto the back of the stump until it hit the dry dirt and was absorbed. Luckily, Simba got a second wind and clenched his anus again. Simba started tapping his feet impatiently as he waited for Nala to finish talking. "Oh, what else do you guys have going on today?" asked Nala. I have to," Simba said before pausing awkwardly. His anus was letting a silent fart escape from his rectum. Timon, who was standing right next to Simba, was forced to breathe normally and ignore the fetid aroma. The smell was violently spicy and especially foul. Timon's nostrils went through absolute hell enduring Simba's funky gas. Simba clenched up again, but not as forcefully. The fart had let off a little steam. "I wanted to observe the watering hole," Simba lied. Nala knew something was wrong with Simba. His jumpy expression, perspiration, and clenched butt cheeks gave it away. She wasn't the type to embarrass him, though, so she decided to give her mate a break. "I'll see you later, then, okay?" said Nala, walking off. "I know you're busy today." As soon as Nala was out of Simba's distance, she ran from the clearing to escape the oncoming smell. Back at the clearing, Simba still had a frozen, awkward smile on his face. Suddenly, an abundant spray of diarrhea shot him off the stump and onto the floor, also startling Timon. His dung-spraying ass was in the air as the diarrhea coated his butt. The odor was horrendous and engulfed the entire clearing. Timon plugged his nose and approached Simba. You okay? Asked the meerkat. I can't hold it, yelled Simba. I'm gonna go right here. Simba rapidly got off the ground and squatted over the stump. His rump let out a violent, flapping eruption of gas that sprayed more liquid shit onto the clearing's floor. This was followed by another massive fart. Liquid poo dripped down his crack and scrotum as the flatulence escaped his anus. Simba tried to let out the poo that was practically inflating his butt, but all he could manage was a series of spicy, manure-scented farts. Waste continued to drip down, but the flow had already ended. Simba clenched his teeth and grunted, but only more gas was pushed out. Timon! Timon approached Simba, wanting to assist his friend's dump out of guilt. How cute! What is it, Simba? I'm backed up, grunted Simba, panting heavily. I think I ate a snail shell. You've got to help me. Please, God, no. Please, God, no, don't help him. Timon's jaw dropped as he stared at the lion's stinky ass. Simba's butt was covered in liquidy shit and his anus was stained brown. Timon knew the only way to redeem his actions was to do the unthinkable. Timon got behind Simba and groaned. The lion's butt was extremely pungent and messy. Timon wanted to get this over with, though, so he slowly made a fist and inched it towards Simba's anus. Timon's fist slipped right into Simba's relatively huge, shit-lubed asshole. I'm really gonna try not to break for the rest of the story. It's almost done. It's like a good 70% done. My goodness. My fucking God. Oh God, it just gets so much worse. Oh, okay. I really hope my nipple didn't slip on that last. Okay, it's fine. Anyway, if it did, hi, there's a nipple. Timon's fist slipped right into Simba's relatively huge, shit-lubed asshole. Oh, I did this right. He made a disgusted expression as he felt the smelly, squishy gunk found in the fleshy rectum. Simba grunted and blushed a bit as his friend inserted his fist into his sensitive hole. Timon reached in further as another fart escaped Simba's ass, splattering a small mist of shit onto the side of Timon's head. Everyone just paint this picture, okay? Everybody, I need you to just really think hard and deeply about what the fuck is going on. Timon fought the urge to run away and dug in deeper, engulfing his entire arm in squishy lion butt up to the shoulder. As soon as he reached and as far as he could, he found the snail shell. Grabbing hold of it, the meerkat quickly pulled it out and ducked out of the way. Simba's expression turned into immense relief as a wave of fresh dung rushed out of his bottom. Simba sighed heavily as his poo flowed freely onto the stump. The dung started out as liquid, but it became more solid as the dump went on. Another pause came after the liquid phase of the dump, and Simba pushed a little. A semi-soft log stretched his hole and poked out. The log slid out more and more, and Simba shivered in relief as it tickled his anus. Finally, the log splattered onto the stump, and Simba moaned in relief with another juicy fart. His bubbly lion cheeks were flexing and jiggling like crazy as he defecated, and there was no sign of stopping just yet. Before he knew it, a series of short but wide turds started falling from his ass, piling up directly under his anus. Simba was so relaxed at the extended release that he gave up squatting. He just sat down in his own shit pile, creating a huge splash as his butt dropped down into the manure. The dung spattered all over Timon's feet, and he groaned again. Simba squeezed out a series of brown bubbles, making small pops from the gooey dung pile. Soon, another batch of logs emerged from the pile and fused right into it. Simba didn't really mind being filthy. He could just wash it off in an uddle, and besides, the warm mess kind of felt nice on his bottom. Simba let out a much longer sigh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, okay. My goodness. Simba let out another much longer sigh and moan as his bladder started releasing its contents. Laughed Simba, urinating heavily. Didn't even know I had to pee. Snails and stink bugs have a lot of water in them, said Timon before covering his mouth. Simba looked at the meerkat with a confused scowl on his face before potting two and two together. Potting. Simba thought about cursing the meerkat out, but then he realized that the meerkat was about 30% covered in his shit. Timon had even reached into his anus. He was definitely punished enough. Timon sighed in relief himself as Simba ignored his prank, but he still felt a little guilty deep down. Simba's dick was flushing out a deep amount of hot, bright yellow piss flow onto the ground into a puddle beneath his feet. Simba wiggled his toes in the musky yellow fluids and sighed at the warm feeling. The yellow waterfall continued for a good while, and loud splashes and trickles filled the air with a hypnotic sound. Finally, the time came when Simba's stream ran out and was reduced to a few droplets. His ass had sputtered out the last few muddy bubbles and plopped out one more small turd. The lion lifted his ass off the stump, the heavy amounts of shit dripping consistently off his ass and falling to the ground. "Any puddles around here?" asked Simba. As he finished his dump, he realized how gross the situation was. His royal ass was slathered in shit! "Not unless you count the watering hole. Please don't," said Timon. And Timon looked down at the lion's piss puddle. "Well, it is sterile. Besides, the leaves around here are too small to clean up all of that." Simba groaned and dipped his ass directly into his own urine and swirled it around. The shit that clung to his ass was lifted off by the wet piss. Simba had to let out a few more fart bubbles to fully cleanse his system, and he and Timon giggled a little at how comical it was. With a few more dips and splashes, Simba lifted his butt out of the water and shook it a bit, shaking the piss droplets off his ass. A couple droplets also fell onto Timon, rinsing some of the shit on his side and feet. He was still filthy, though, and it would take quite a few leaves to wipe himself clean. Timon cleaned himself with some small, dew-covered leaves. Timon was impressed. He went unpunished, sort of, and learned never to prank the king again. He knew that day that pranking Simba, of all animals, was bad karma, and that things could have been a lot worse. Could they, though? Could they really? I'm pretty fucking sure that was the worst possible thing that has ever happened.